It's been a long time since I've posted any kind of content and never showed my face. My face is really puffy. I've been on steroids medically for medical reasons for about 2 months. Not that I was ever slender, but yeah. Um, I've been recovering from a couple illnesses. TMI, I've got Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Before that, I'm already immunocompromised. I have something called Crohn's disease. You've seen a lot of commercials for their medications, not cheap. Um, so the Rocky Mountain spotted fever spread into something called bullous leukostatic vasculitis, which is very uncommon, but also it spread up from my ankles, up my chest, even up to my face, and all up in my nostrils. I'm not going to show any pictures because it was disgusting. I was hospitalized for 16 days, and I've been at home recovering for over a month. I have not worked for 2 months. Hopefully I can get back soon. But me being bored, I looked through the Facebook marketplace and I found a deal. And initially I was going to do another Facebook flip when I'm healthy. Right now I'm not really going to trust myself with messing with components in a computer. So I'll show you what I got and talk about updates I will get. But yeah, let's flip this around. I ended up for $200 buying a Alienware Aura R10, and this is probably the lowest of the low ends. The guy gave me this. Well, part of the deal was this computer, and I will go through our discussion in the marketplace. This comes with a Ryzen RX 550-600X, one single stick of DDR, well, yeah, 3200 speed DDR for 3200 RAM, single, yes, and it's powered off of a hard drive, even though it does support one NVMe. I threw in this monitor, and yeah, it was connected through the D sub. It didn't even have HDMI. So whoever bought this originally bought like the lowest end version of this. Threw in a couple of keyboards, a couple of mice. So I'm obviously going to replace the hard drive with NVMe. I already bought for $30. I'm gonna obviously put some more RAM, dual channel at least. It'll be at least 16, maybe 32. I don't know. Marketplace is really people aren't responding that are trying to sell RAM. But there'll be multiple videos. Well, I shouldn't say. It'll be a single video I will record over a course of a few weeks. Initially, I was going to flip this, but instead, I'm going to give this computer, it'll be ready by Christmas, to my kids. It'll be a dual monitor setup. And it'll be close to the computer I run. It's not, the computer I personally run is not the greatest. It's one I started building just before the COVID inflation or whatever. Like this has a 1660 Ti. I'm running a 3060. This has a Ryzen 5 5600X. I run a Ryzen 7 5700X. This will have at least 16 gigs of RAM, DDR4 3200. I run 32 gigs of RAM, 3200. So it's not gonna be that much worse. The thing is, my computer, because it's in a space that's very limited, is a single monitor, and this one will have two displays. All right, so I'm gonna download 3D Mark, but that looks like it's gonna take half an hour. We're gonna run 3D Mark, Cinebench, and we're also gonna see how long it takes to boot this up, and that'll probably be all for today's recordings, assuming I have time to wait this long. After that, I will try the same things, but with NVMe installed whenever I feel able. And then I'll do the same thing again when I update the RAM. I do know that when this came out, this got horrible reviews for overheating because of fan issues. There are a ton of videos on YouTube if you look up about replacing fans. I'm not going to do 4 fans. I'm going to replace the fan up here and install one down here, and that'll probably be fine. This is the water-cooled version, so that is a plus on this one. They spent extra for cooling, but did not spend extra for additional RAM, or when I say they, whoever initially purchased this, did not spend the extra on additional RAM or an NVMe. Okay, well, 3D Mark is still downloading. Let's see what happens with Cinebench multi-core. All right, we'll come back in a few minutes. There it goes. All right, finished up with a score of 9740. That's considered low, but we will run this again with a, not that I think an SSD will make much of a difference, but we'll also put better fans in here and see if that's improved. It's not catastrophic, doesn't point to a major issue, but it is considered below average. But I don't think it's that bad. We'll see if we can do better when we do upgrades. 3D Mark is finally downloaded and installed. It took forever on this mechanical hard drive. We're going to run the Time Spy benchmark on this out of the box before I do any improvements and see how bad this is. All right, this is the next day. It just took too long for 3D Mark to start up, and I ran out of time. Brought it out now. A little bit different here. It is my kid's birthday, but let's time how long it takes for this to boot up. Okay, 60 seconds. We are still booting up. Spinning wheel. Let's see how long it's going to take. We'll come back. Okay, we're at 2 minutes, still booting up. Love the mechanical hard drives. In case I didn't mention it, I did update the BIOS. This was running a 2023 version. Searching the Dell website, I was able to get a 2025. And yeah, back to my illness. I'm still going through exhaustion, and I did get a, for $30 in the marketplace, a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. Maybe in a few days I'll feel healthy enough that I think I can do that. Put that in and remove the hard drive. Oh, here we go. It took, let me see. Sorry, I guess the camera stops rolling whenever I go to the timer. Let me enter in the PIN number. And here we go. Boom. About 2.5 minutes to boot up with this. But yeah, I did update the BIOS to a 2025 version. And let me just reiterate one more time that, guys, if you're married, listen to your wives. She is the person that insisted I go to a doctor. And then I went to the doctor. It wasn't serious enough. A few days later, she insisted I go to urgent care. I went to urgent care. They sent me to the ER. They sent me to the ER. The ER sent me to the hospital, admitted me to the hospital, and my wife quite possibly saved my life because I didn't think I needed to go to urgent care. But I'm gonna go see if I have enough time to run 3D Mark because I do have a doctor's appointment here in a couple hours, and hopefully this doesn't take that long because I do have to get this stuff put away before my kid comes home on the bus, and I might not be home. So we'll see if this runs, and if it runs fast enough, maybe I'll do Passmark and then run all that stuff again whenever I put an SSD. I am going to put 32 gigabytes of RAM in here, so whenever I install that, we'll run a test again. And then I have like six or eight fans in my garage from old builds, so that's something I already have. I'll put those in last and see if the fan improvement will increase scores as well. But yeah, sorry I ramble. That is part of my recovery, is that I not only am I physically exhausted, But mentally, I sometimes struggle to stay on task, but I'm all there, just a few cents short of $1 or something. But I'm getting better every day. And by Christmas, my kids will have a nice little computer. They didn't cost that much. So obviously I gave up on trying to run 3D Mark. It was just taking, I don't know, after an hour still gathering system information. So I will do that after I replace the mechanical with NVMe. And yeah, we'll just run past Mark. Sounds like my laundry's done. And there you have it. This is probably an indication why 3D Mark never ran. I got a score of 863.4, placing this computer in the 6th percentile. CPU was fine, but you can see the RAM. This is 8 GB single channel, and there you go. That's the mechanical hard drive. So I imagine when I put in the NVMe, this will go up a significant amount. And then when I upgrade the RAM, this will go up a significant amount. But yeah, that's to be expected, I think. So next update, hopefully here in a couple days, I feel well enough to put in the NVMe. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Oh, and then maybe the fans will help a little bit. I doubt it. But yeah, there's a ton of videos online about the R10, 12, however many there are, installing fans, things like that. You should just YouTube those. I'm gonna replace the fan that's here, and I'm gonna put one here. I don't think I'm gonna do what other videos suggest and replace the fan at the water cooler. So I'm just gonna put in 2 new fans. And yeah, and I did notice that there was the 1660 Ti is a little dusty. Maybe I'll call up Salem Techsperts and have him send the gooch collector. I don't know. All right, I have removed the hard drive. It is a 2 terabyte Barracuda, 7200 RPM. So at least it was running at 7200. And right there you can see the NVMe slot where I will put the SSD. And there we go, we are installed. Hopefully, I haven't tested this SSD. Hopefully it works and I didn't get ripped off $30. And that is going to go in the computer I'm going to sell. I'm going to swap that with a 2.5 2.5 inch SSD SATA, and in place of where this hard drive was, we're going to put in a fan, and we're going to replace this one. I've got a bunch of fans in my garage. I'll do that another day, but for now let's just install this and put a new copy of Windows on here. All right, we have Windows 11 installed, and we have switched from the mechanical hard drive to an NVMe. Let's run Passmark and see if the scores are better. I'll say just switching out from the hard drive to an SSD made a big difference. The last score was in the 6th percentile, a score of 863. Now we're in the 70th percentile, 7557.5. The hard drive was in the 0 percentile, and this SSD is in the 81st. And yeah, when I double or quadruple the RAM, it should go up quite a bit as well. I'm going to bypass 3D Mark since I was not able to run it, but let's see if Cinebench makes any difference now. And we went from 9740 to 10,500, so from below average to, I think that's average. I'll take it. And we're going to run these again when I add more RAM and fans. One more thing before I end for the day. I think our boot up time with the spinny hard drive was about 2 minutes. Let's see what it is with the SSD. Boom. I'll put the time up on the screen. I say we have an improvement. Side quest. Obviously, this is not the Alienware. This is a computer I had at my mother-in-law's that my kids would use. They don't use it anymore. It's an Inspiron 3880. We're gonna sell it to help pay for this computer under the guise of, I told my kid we're selling it to pay for the Switch repair that we had on his broken Switch, that was his Nintendo Switch that wouldn't charge. And that makes sense. Both kids were okay with that. So I'm hoping to get maybe 150 for this. This is a 3880. It has a i3 10th gen, 16 gigs of RAM. I'm going to take out, it is running off of an NVMe. I'm going to take out the 2.5-inch SATA SSD, put it in the Aurora R10 we're getting, and I'm going to pop in the 2 terabyte mechanical hard drive. And technically, I'm going to sell separately. I'm going to take out the 1050 Ti I have in here, which technically is not supported by this computer. While it doesn't require external power, the specs says that it does need a 300 watt power supply, and this only has 200. Haven't had any issues, but I'm going to take it out and not sell the computer with it, but I will sell it separately. And I'm going to list the GPU for the 1050 Ti for $60. I anticipate selling it for 50 or 40. And somebody has just the tower of a 3880 with, I think, 2.5-inch SATA, not even an NVMe, and only 8 gigs of RAM. They're trying to sell it for $300 on Marketplace. I'm going to list this with throwaway mouse, keyboard, $10 speakers, and this monitor, which I don't even think is 1080p. That's my dog. I'm gonna list the whole thing as a complete setup for $200, and I would accept $150. And that would, I might even accept $120 without the peripherals, and that would go a long way. Now, when I originally bought this, I had a free 9020 that an engineer had given to me that I sold for $75. I originally bought this computer, just the tower, for $125. So before adding the SSD in there, the NVMe, I mean, and the graphics card, that was at 75, 120. I was in it for $50. So that's just profit. But anyway, I'm gonna clean up this computer, upgrade it to Windows 11, swap in the hard drive, take out the SSD, list it, and I might have an update if these items sell fast. So I posted that computer and that graphics card on Marketplace, and I have swapped out the SATA SSD and plugged it in here, which was a bit annoying. And I've installed 2 sticks of RAM, and let's see. Pre-boot system performance check. The amount of system memory has changed. If you did not change your memory to resolve the issue, try to reseat the memory. Should I go to continue, BIOS setup, or diagnosis? Let's try continue. see if this works. So I took out this single stick, and knowing that this brand worked, I got a matching pair of HyperX Fury, and from what I can tell, it doesn't match this. From what I can tell, looking at that number, I think the CL number was 22. So I didn't want to, let me log in. I didn't want to get the same memory. So I actually have 2 more sticks coming in. So we're going to go from single channel 8 gig to 4 sticks of 8 gig. So we're going to go to 32. Let's see. And looks like I'm going to have to go into BIOS or check the seating because it's only picking up 8 gig. And 8 gig, but it says 2 slots used and only 2133 mega transfers. I'm going to check the info on these sticks. So I'm going to shut this down and take the RAM out and make sure it didn't get ripped off. So the RAM was seated fine. BIOS was fine. Part of it was my mistake. Part of it was the seller's mistake. Those are 2 4 gig sticks. The listing said 8 gig. I assumed it was 8 gig each stick. Nope, it is 8 gigs total. However, the listing is wrong in that it says 3200 mega transfers when it's actually 2133, which is exactly what that says. So I think this technically, I'm going to go ahead and run Cinebench. Let me see. And I'll run Passmark as well. Let's see if 8 gig 32, let's just see which RAM setup is better. I do have hopefully 2 legit 8 gig sticks coming, and I'll check that. But here we go. This is the SSD. I'll see if I can fix that, but it is picking up the SSD. But let's go ahead and run Passmark. Just ran Passmark, and we actually got an improvement. That could just be noise. The CPU, other things went up. Memory also went up a little bit. Yeah, this old stick is a single 8 gig 2333. So I guess running 8 gigs in dual channel, which would be 2 4 gig sticks, is better. Makes sense. That does make sense though. I did reach out to the seller, waiting to hear if I can get a partial refund because I have no interest in those sticks. Hopefully today I'll get 2 actual 8 gigabyte sticks that running at 3200 instead of 2 4 running at 2333. Next update, I'll have those 2 sticks in here, and maybe I'll get around to putting a fan here, replacing this fan, and putting a fan up here. And we'll be close to done. Then I'll be changing settings within Windows and the Alienware Control Center, whatever that's called, optimize the system and see how well I can get this running. And then also I'm going to take that out and clean it up because it's pretty nasty, that GPU. So I got plenty of time to get this thing up and running at its best possible performance before Christmas. And hopefully my health will continue to improve. I am feeling a lot better. All right, we got our new RAM in. We are showing 16 gigs, 2933. So I'm gonna go see if I can change that. Try loading another XMP profile, see if that will work. But yeah, I took those two out, waiting to hear back from my seller. But let's see if we can get that up to 3,200. I'm gonna never mind the sores on my hand. My other hand is even grosser. But span the F2. Okay, I think I go to advanced. Performance options. Let's try OC1. See if that works. Fingers crossed. $16 gigs, 3,200. All right, let's run pass mark again and see if we can get more improvement. And there we go. It's an improved score, although somehow the percentile went down, but it looks like better scores across the board. And maybe I'll get more RAM. I'll probably get back up to 32 before Christmas, and I'll definitely at some point install these fans, maybe push this up even higher. So big improvement from the 6th percentile. When we ran this with 8 gig single channel, we've improved that to, it was 8 gig single channel running at 2333. Now we are 16 gig dual channel at 3200. We went from the 72 RPM mechanical hard drive to an NVMe, probably Gen 3, I think. And what other improvement? Yeah, just the SSD from a hard drive and doubling the RAM. That is really a affordable way to improve the performance. All right, so it's dark and you can't see it, but I replaced the lower fan and I added a fan up here. It appears to be holding strong. I used double-sided tape, though I did recently, after the fact, rip off the front panel and dusted it out. There was a lot of nasty dust balls floating around in there, so I could have zip tied it. But if I hear this rattling around at some point, I'll go back and zip tie it. But the double-sided tape appears to be really strong. Let's put the side panel on and see how fast, or see how well this runs. Okay, we just ran pass mark and I got this score. I don't know what the other scores were, so we'll take a moment and we'll just compare all of the test scores. Okay, remember when we first got this computer and tried to run 3D Mark out of the box and it wouldn't run at all? Now let's try 3D Mark Time Spy. We'll come back in a little bit. And we got a score of 6392 overall with a 6169 GPU score, which indicates above average for a 1660 Ti, and a CPU score of 8043, which is above average for a Ryzen 5 5600X. So I guess I'm happy with this score, considering out of the box for $200, $210, couldn't even run 3D Mark. And I'll figure out how much I spent on this, but really I just bought the NVMe and a couple fans, I think. Oh, and some RAM. But I think $300 maximum spent on this computer is probably a pretty good deal. And when you consider that my kid mainly only plays Roblox and Team Fortress 2, this will more than suffice.